What's up, everybody? This is Stan Jr., and I am here reading the Bible with you. Of course, we're looking at Leviticus chapter 4 today. It's talking about the laws for sin offerings. And so it's very important that we understand that this is the law to the people of Israel in the wilderness. Remember, they're just coming out of slavery, so they need some kinds of rules and ideas, and God has given them culture, and He's giving them, in a way to live. And so we're looking and gleaming at this, okay? For principle, there are things that we can apply to our life from the book of Leviticus for principle. And so before we get started, though, go ahead and click like on this video, and if you haven't subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you know every time I post a new video. Also, please continue commenting below any questions or thoughts you have about the book of Leviticus. I love to discuss them with you, and I love reading your comments. Verse 1 says, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, If anyone sins unintentionally, that is, by mistake, in any of the Lord's commandments about these things not to be done, and does any of them, if it is the anointed priest who sins, thus bringing guilt on the people, then he shall offer for the sin that he has committed a bull from the herd without blemish to the Lord for a sin offering. He shall bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord, and lay his hand on the head of the bull, and kill the bull before the Lord. And he anointed the priest. And the anointed priest shall take some of the blood of the bull and bring it into the tent of meeting, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle part of the blood 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil of the sanctuary. And the priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of fragrant incense before the Lord that is in the tent of meeting. And all the rest of the blood of the bull he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering, that is in the entrance of the tent of meeting. And all the fat of the bull of the sin offering he shall remove from it, and the fat of that covers the entrails, and all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins of and the long lobe of the liver, that he shall remove with the kidneys, just as these are taken from the ox of the sacrifice of the peace offerings, and the priest shall burn them on the altar of a burnt offering. But the skin of the bull and all of its flesh, with its head, its legs, its entrails, and its dung, all the rest of the bull, he shall carry outside of the camp to a clean place, to heap the ashes, and it shall be burned up. If the whole congregation of Israel sins, unintentionally, and the thing is hidden from the eyes of the assembly, and they do any one of the things that by the Lord's commandments ought not to be done, and they realize their guilt, when the sin which they have committed becomes known, the assembly shall offer a bull from the herd for a sin offering, and bring it in front of the tent of meeting. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the bull before the Lord, and the bull shall be killed before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall bring some of the blood of the bull into the tent of meeting, and the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord in front of the veil. And he shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar that is in the tent of meeting before the Lord. And the rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offerings, and that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And all its fat he shall take from it and burn on the altar. Thus shall he do with the bull. As he did with the bull of the sin offering, so shall he do with this. And the priest shall make atonement for them, and they shall be forgiven." So this is very important, and we got quite a little bit more to read, but this is extremely important to understand that, number one, God's presence was literally living with them. They were literally living around the tangible presence of God, or the Shekinah. And so you understand that there's stories about tying a rope around the priest and make sure he has bells at the end of his robe, because if he enters into the Holy of Holies, into the presence of God, and he's not clean or he hasn't done a sacrifice, you got to pull him out by a string. And some people say, well, why do, and he'll die. And so people say, why does God kill him? Well, God isn't killing him. The presence of God is too much for mere mortals to handle. Skin, flesh, bones, you understand? And so it's like if I put on a bunch of cologne and I walked into a room, everybody in that room will be affected by it. And it's not that I'm doing it, but it's my presence or my aroma. It gets into their eyes, it gets into the mouth, it gets into the nose. People want to go, people get a headache because of the smell, and so it's too much for them to bear. And so that is how we think about the presence of God. And so, and it says, if anyone of the common people sins, unintentionally, in doing any one of the things that by the Lord's commandments ought not to be done, and realizes his guilt, or the sin which he has committed is made known to him, he shall bring for his offering a goat, a female without blemish, for his sin which he has committed, and he shall lay his hand on the head of the sin offering, and kill the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. And the priest shall take some of its blood with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and pour out all the rest of its blood at the base of the altar. And all its fat he shall remove, as the fat is removed from the peace offerings, and the priest shall burn it on the altar for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be forgiven. If he brings a lamb as his offering for a sin offering, he shall bring a female without blemish, and lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and kill it for a sin offering in the place where they kill the burnt offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and pour out all the rest of its blood at the base of the altar, and all its fat, and he shall remove as the fat of the lamb is removed from the sacrifice and peace offerings, and the priest shall burn it on the altar on top of the Lord's food offerings. And the priest shall make atonement for him for the sin which he has committed, and he shall be forgiven. And that was Leviticus chapter 4. Now, thank you for reading the Bible with me today, and I pray that you would consider becoming an official Bible member. That's somebody that supports this ministry with a monthly gift, monthly donation through the business called Patreon. And so you can go down in the link in my description, and you can become a patron, and you can help further the preaching and the ministry of the gospel. And so I'm very grateful for you. And I can't wait to read chapter 5 with you, probably tomorrow if you read every day with me. But anytime you see this, I can't read it with you. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.